Okay, so welcome back. We're gonna be working on how to rob a bank instructions, our program. So this is the browser I have here on this side. Um, you can, so we said that in any browser you can basically open up and get access to JavaScript. So it's really easy how we do this. You right click on the navigator, then you click on inspect, and then when you click on inspect, you're given this thing. This is where you can run JavaScript. If you click on the taskbar on top on console, here you can write JavaScript. So we can say like 3 plus 3 will equal 6. And this is logic that JavaScript is interpreting. So inside of here, you can click on the two little corner pieces. And if you go over to, I'm sorry, sources, it's right here. This sources can give you a place to write JavaScript. So if you click on the plus sign to create a new snippet, let's call rob a bank, right? Whoops, bank. We can create a bunch of little snippets, like pieces of code, where we can write our JavaScript and then like write it like run it, and we can keep like all of these little files saved up. So I would suggest to use this in order for it to um to work to work with JavaScript. One more time, just if somebody didn't get it, in order to get into that console, you're gonna right click on the navigation anywhere on the screen, click inspect. Inside of inspect, you have this toolbar on top, and you can click on the sources tab, where you will be given a place where you can store these little snippets by creating a um, something, right? And here you can write JavaScript 3 plus 3. Whoops, sorry. Plus 3. And if you click this little play button on the bottom, it will run your code and it will give you the outcome on the bottom. So when I clicked right now on this little play button, control enter, it gave me the 6, right? So let's go back to our Robbie bank. And I haven't made mine, but I have one of the people that I'm helping learn JavaScript. He created a a set of rules for how to rob a bank. So let's go over it and let's try to just get ideas of how we're writing logic and how if we gave these rules to somebody, they would be able to rob a bank also, right? In the same way, we're going to be doing this. This is programming, right? Maybe not exactly, but this is the idea of programming. You are making a set of rules and instructions that are going to be executed by the computer. Here, another person is going to be executing these commands, but we can talk more about that a little bit later. So let's go over it right now. What is the first thing that I will do? So he wrote, I would decide on what bank to rob. There can be multiple banks. Oh man, he let's make some spaces. But finding the most adequate one will be hard based on the location. Okay, so he wants to find the proper bank that he's going to rob, doing research, reconnaissance to find the bank, and some surrounding terrain. So, okay, I see what he's saying. He wants, so we're going to choose the bank that we want to rob. Is it going to be the one in the middle of the city? Maybe that one's not so good because there's more police officers. Maybe the one that's far away from the city center, right? That would be a better bank to rob because there's not that much transition of officers. Okay, as step number 2, he wrote, I would have to decide which one is the best. I need to find out how will law enforcement will get there to act. Ah, yeah. So he thought about this. He's saying like, hey, um, I shouldn't choose the one that's in the like next to the police station, right? Because they're gonna get there super quickly. So maybe I should choose one that's farther away. All right, and then he wrote, and how many civilians will notice what there is something wrong? Also, is this a bank that's on Main Street, right? Are there a lot of people coming out? Um, so I think this is what he means, right? Trying to come up with this decision to say like, hey, when there are minimal people, that's when we should act. As step number 3, he wrote, after finding the best place that will meet all requirements, I will have to research about that specific bank. The people that work there and the most common customers. All right, interesting. So more reconnaissance. Once you choose the bank that you want for that specific bank, do a bunch of reconnaissance in order for you to kind of get the flow of day-to-day basis, right? So you can find that precise time when you want to perform the action. Before any more steps, I will need people that are willing to commit the crime and risk their lives for fortune. Interesting. So he needs to find the right type of people. I will need people that will not snitch or have fear. Yep, exactly. Usually if a person is too frozen in that type of situation, it could become highly it's like when you freeze up. I forgot the word when you freeze up. Detrimental. So I think it could be a detrimental thing if a person freezes, like the person that's robbing the bank. If he freezes, that's definitely bad. Okay. Then step number 5, I will take years of planning and preparations. Interesting. Forming the right friends for the job and getting into buying and selling drugs. No, that's good. So he understands that more than likely if he goes to church, right, he's not going to find a fellow bank robber. So he's going to have to, start selling drugs in order for him to be able to find somebody that would be in such a position in order to rob that bank. And now you have 2 people or multiple people that are doing one act. So I see where his logic is coming from. That would mean that if you have more people, there are less possibilities, for there to be going something wrong in this bank robbery. Okay. Why drugs? I will need to get close to people that already have committed crimes and are willing to do this. Hang out with them to get to know them as people. Yep, once again, I think I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. But this is the right type of people that he wants to target because they are more than likely the people that will be willing to rob a bank, as opposed to somebody that you find maybe in the church or something. Finding the right people will be hard, but also need people who have attributes like skills. Yeah, a lot of street smarts, I would say. So you want to target those people that have that type of experience already, right? As opposed to somebody that has never done any type of crime. It would become harder for them. After finding the right people and getting to know them, we go to the planning stage and do more research. So he is very prepared. I see the type of person he is. He wants to think about the problem as much as possible in order to run into less bugs. In the same way, when you start building a server or you start building your full stack application, a lot of times what you get to a point where it's like people have a misconception about writing code where they think about the matrix and they see this guy in front of a computer just typing. That's not normally what happens. What normally happens is you're basically reading, you're preparing, and then once you prepare some more, and then you think of a separate part of your application, and then you do more thinking. So yes, I agree with all the preparation he's doing. To a certain extent, we do something called test-driven development, where the thing that you want to build a bunch of tests in order to build. When you write your code, the code that you build will be reflected on those tests in order for you to reduce bugs. So here I think he's trying to reduce like any type of situation where the bank robbery might not go full status. So this is actually very good. On line number 31, I will have to entice them that money is worth their lives. All right, so Okay, so he's saying like he wants to make sure that they understand that the money that they are going to get is worth it. Totally, I totally see that in movies. I will need to build charisma to not only make them more confident, but make them willing to do it. Yep, to a certain extent, I see that not just in a bank robbery or in a gangster type of situation, but in most situations. I used to work for Intel, and I remember that a lot of times we used to have very tedious and hard issues that we needed to resolve. So a lot of times the leader, the person that is, you know, driving the group, needs to have that charisma and that confidence to say, hey, we might not be able to solve it this week, but this is what we're going to be doing. And he kind of does the step forward for everybody else to follow and get on the same page. So I totally agree with this also. Line 35. I will also need information inside the bank. I will need to research the individuals, what they have in their social media, where they hang out. So he will do a little bit more reconnaissance on that specific bank, the staff members inside of it, and to be able to get as many details as possible, right, in order to be able to see that flow. And I see this definitely in a lot of movies also, where it's like you wanna. This is called social engineering. So I think he's kind of like getting into that type of scenario here, where it's like he's building these interactions with the staff members in order to be able to see exactly the details that are happening within the bank, and then be able to execute them and run into less bugs or issues. On line number 39, I think the last thing he wrote, having a person who will provide information will be beneficial. Yep, so make friends and maybe get them as potential partners. If they work for the bank, I can entice them to provide information. Yeah, I think so. One of the interesting things that I have experienced with this is that um, I remember that in Intel, like they had so much security. They had a ton of security. But to a certain extent, it's kind of like they had so much security, but most of the of the threats of the actual things that worked were social engineering type of situations. A lot of people laugh at spam mail, but in reality, spam mail, if you send a million different spams, if 0.001% took the bait, that means a lot of potential people that you can target. And then if you compromise that one individual, it could be kind of like the center point of like where other individuals get compromised as well. So yeah, I definitely see this as something very beneficial. So okay, so this was pretty fun. This is what programming is. We are writing a set of instructions. This is for another person to rob a bank, but this is what we're going to be doing in JavaScript. We're going to be writing a bunch of instructions in order for the computer to execute those instructions and then give us the money or the moolah. So yeah, well, let's continue onward. We're gonna go over these couple of things that I've written, and we're gonna go one by one until we finish everything. We're gonna be making a bunch of videos about loops, functions, variables, getting introduced with JavaScript. Um, I think here practice is essential. The more you practice this, the better you become, and hopefully you're able to do a bunch of problems that I will provide and take them seriously. Try to do all of them, as many as you can, um, so you can get better practice. So just remember, just like any type of endeavor, if you want to play the guitar, the piano, draw, paint, become a swimmer, right? Um, any type of skill, the amount of time and effort you put into it is what you're going to reap at the end of the day. So if you put in 30 minutes a day, you're going to reap that amount. If you put 8 hours a day or crazy like me and put like 12 hours a day, you're gonna reap that at the end of your endeavor. So just be aware of that. You reap what you sow. Cosechas lo que no cosechas lo que siembras in Spanish. So definitely try your best, and hopefully we'll have a bunch of fun in this. So yeah, talk to you later.